Okay. Can you guys hear everything? Is everything working here? Okay, I think we're good. All right. This is something I've never thought I would start a podcast type of thing before, but this is something new. I got inspiration from seeing Pocket Psych. I saw her on Twitter and I thought it would be a good idea to hit her up for an interview. And then I was like, man, I should just run with this for like a whole type of podcast, like an angle for CS. And I just want to talk about like the whole angle behind this, like these interviews I'm gonna be conducting. So like most CSGO podcasts I see, it's always like there's always like an angle of just like, I don't know, it's like sports commentating, like people commentate on like the teams and how like the tier 1 teams are doing, and like oh, how did Furia do during the game, or how did EG do? But I've never seen a podcast that is just like orientated from the perspective of someone who's trying to go pro or someone who's like trying to learn. So like going forward with all these episodes, it's going to be that point of view of me interviewing people with the perspective of trying to learn from them, and just like anything related to improving at CS. So it can be from who we have on today. I'll get to that in a second. Like a psychologist to a physical therapist, or like, I don't know, proper form while playing, or like IGLs, oppers, and maybe I'll work my way up to like a pro player, interview a pro player, and just like it's all about just like learning and like learning to improve. So that's the perspective of this. Okay, I just want to introduce the podcast. Okay, and now we can talk about the guests. So, this is gonna be pretty hard to top, this first guest. I'm not gonna lie. I'm surprised I got her into agreement with this. So she has had over 35 years of traditional sports psychology practice. She wrote the ebook Sports Psychology: Tools for Every Coach and Athlete. She has taught psychology and research statistics at university, with classes ranging from the bachelor level to doctorate at Monash, Deakin, and Victoria University in Australia. She has worked within esports in games such as Rocket League, Wild Rift, Rainbow Six, PUBG, Halo, League of Legends, Apex Legends, Super Smash Bros. Melee, and all of our favorite Counter-Strike. So everyone, welcome the first ever guest to this of what I would call SNS, samRi and Sensei. That's kind of like the whole idea. samRi, and I'm learning from a Sensei. We have Dr. Michelle Payne, aka Pocket Psych. So, look at the transition. Okay. How are you doing? How are you doing, Dr. Michelle? Oh, can you hear me? Hello? Uh-oh. We got a problem here. All right, we're back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. We're good. We're back.
Hey.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay. So, yeah. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you very much. I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing.
I'm so
excited
excited to be
I'm
here.
excited too, man. I'm actually like really excited for this. You are from Australia, so what time is it for you right now? Because you can see like the sun popping off your head.
It's gonna be in my face. I'll try and dodge it, but it's 11 o'clock in the morning, just after 11 in the morning. It's It's one of the hottest days we've had in winter so far. I think it's gonna be about 20 degrees Celsius. That is.
Oh, okay, I was about to say I wouldn't understand. I can't do the translation in my head.
Let me think. 50. It's about 80. Is that right?
80. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Oh, it's nice to finally meet
winter.
you. Yeah, winter.
You too.
Yeah, that's actually 80 in the winter. Okay. I have a list of questions I wanted to get to. Dr. Michelle has also prepared a lecture for the people who ask questions on Twitter.
Don't be intimidated.
Yeah. She goes into some crazy detail. I took a couple glances at it, but starting off, I have questions for Dr. Michelle here. So first
just call me Michelle.
Michelle, okay, that works. I don't want to be disrespectful. So, okay. First off, what got you into the field of sports psychology, and why sports psychology over traditional psychology? And then moreover, why esports to top it off?
Okay, so I used to be a track and field athlete. I used to be a 400-meter hurdler. And
Okay.
a long time ago, I had a friend who was a really good 400-meter hurdler also, who would be selected for Australian teams because she competed really well. But as soon as she went overseas and tried to compete overseas, the nerves got the better of her, and she was never able to reproduce her good form that she had, in her home country. So
Yeah.
I thought, I'm interested in psychology. I was doing psychology at uni at that time, and I went to my head of department and said, how do you study something called sports psychology? Because it sounds interesting to me. And he said, oh, no, you can't do that here in Australia. You've got to go over to America probably. And short story, well, long story short, I created the very first master's degree sports psychology course in Australia for people to start getting trained in sports psychology. That's how motivated I was.
Yeah,
So
I saw that. I saw that in your website. I actually wrote that down as one of the questions. What does that
right.
mean exactly? Like, I couldn't understand.
So
You created the first.
before then, yeah. So before then, you sort of could do psychology, but there was nothing to formalize, sports psychology as a profession. Before that,
Okay.
you
Okay.
could dabble in sports, and you couldn't call yourself a sports psychologist because that can only be granted by the national body saying yes, that's an actual specialization within psychology.
Mm.
So I created a master's degree course and for people to get trained in sports psychology. And as a result of that, because it's a profession, the APS, and the accrediting body said, okay, now we have a pathway for people to become actually specialists in that field. Will allow you to call yourselves sports psychologists. So it's actually a protected
Okay.
title.
Okay.
Not everyone can call themselves that. You have to be actually accredited to be able to do that.
Interesting.
So yeah, I'm responsible for sports psychology in Australia being developed. So I'm very
Oh
proud of that.
wow. Yeah. I wonder how much that like led to in terms of like just performance and just every area of sports. If you're the one that started sports psychology in Australia, like how like the domino effect almost, like how many people have like gone through that program
Oh,
and affected
well,
athletes who may have
there were
won
people,
things.
of course, who were before me, but they didn't create the course. So I was actually at
Okay.
university teaching at that point, and that's why I created the course. But yeah, in the course, it's had a sort of a varied history because there were a couple of courses around Australia that used to offer sports psychology, but it's a small profession. And there's no point churning out hundreds and hundreds of sports psychologists because there's not the jobs for them. So
Mm.
at the moment,
Okay.
there's only like one place in Australia you can go to. It's up in Queensland, southern Queensland, at Toowoomba, and that's the only place in Australia at the moment you can study and become a sports psychologist. But it's a small course. As I said, I used to be involved in teaching a course and running a course at Monash Uni back in the
Yeah.
90s, and it went through a couple of cycles. But it's not financially viable for a university to offer it actually because it's such a specialized area, and you can only take like I don't know 6 to 10 students at a time. The universities see it as a not a viable way for them to raise money to pay specialist staff to teach it, etc., etc. So that's why it stopped at my university, and it's only been, as I said, only running in one university in Australia at the moment.
Oh wow. I didn't realize that like how little it would be like funded because I mean the more I think about it,
Mm.
the people the only I mean it's a specified area of psychology, and then the only people who are going to have access to it are like elite athletes who have the money to pay for one, and then
Well,
I mean the
a lot of elite
right.
athletes actually don't have money. That's the thing.
Oh
I had a
wow.
son who was a elite gymnast, and he had no money.
Oh, so it's even
So
like smaller than I thought.
not every sport gets funded well.
Oh wow.
And there just aren't the jobs for it. So you can't afford to be churning out too many people in that field. But we were very
Yeah.
well trained, just excellent training. So people who are sports psychologists, I think there's probably, I want to guess, I want to say like eh, less than 300 in Australia. So, but it's not a financially viable career either because once you are fully trained, where do you start working? There's like professional sports you could go to. Like in Australia, there's professional football and cricket, but there's not that many teams. And so
Yeah.
if you've got one person at a team, that might take like 20 or 30 people if you're lucky. And they're not full time, it's only part time. So how do you earn a living? So that's why
Yeah.
you have to have another job usually and then do some sports psychology stuff on the side. So I was teaching at university for like 35 years, and that was my main job,
Yeah.
and doing sports psychology stuff on the side. That's how I sort of developed. And then, yeah, so just to get back to the original question, I think it was to how I got into sports psychology. So, yeah, being an athlete, Yeah, so I've had a history like of working with traditional sport athletes for, as I said, 35 years. But in 2019, I've got two sons. One was an elite gymnast, and one was involved in esports.
I
And
read
the
that. I
younger
read that.
one,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the younger one is a part owner, or was a part owner of the Chiefs, which is our biggest esports org here in Australia.
Oh wow.
And he had they had a team, a CS team, who wanted to talk to a sports psychologist, and they spoke to my son and said, do you know any sports psychologists? And my son said, oh, I know one of them. So he asked me to be involved. And of course, the conversation is, well, do I say that I'm his mum? Do I,
Yeah.
is there an ethical issue here? So I just, yeah, we just cleared it all the air and said, yeah, I'm his mum, but what you say to me doesn't get repeated anywhere else. It's okay. So yeah, I worked with them for a year and really loved it. It's so different working in esports compared to traditional sport because you get this immediacy of effect. Like you can talk to your esports players through the mic, while they're
Mm.
almost while they're playing, if they're scrimming, not necessarily in officials, but you can change the way they're thinking and talking to each other if you wanted to, and have an immediate effect. And I really love I really love that. So whereas in traditional sport, you might have sessions with a client, and you might see them maybe once a month, perhaps, or maybe even once a week, and they would tell you what they think is going wrong, and you would listen to what they're saying and give them something to try, and they'd take it away for a week and try it, and then come back and tell you how that worked. So you've always got this delay as to what's actually working, whereas in esports you can tweak things right at the moment. So
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that part of it.
I was because you also can be like, I mean, you could even sit in the coach role if you wanted, like in some scrims.
I do.
Oh, you do. So yeah, you're like
In
right
officials.
there. And you can't do that in with traditional traditional sports because
Well,
like
you're sitting on the sidelines in traditional sports, but there's a long distance usually
that's what I'm
between you and
saying.
the athletes.
Yeah, you're not hearing
and
the communications
you
directly.
can't intervene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, I can see why you would enjoy that more because you get like it's the
I'm a
reception.
control freak. I like
Yeah,
being
you get
involved.
it. Yeah, you're right there. You're right there the whole way. So that's what I had another question along those lines. Let me look through my questions. You mentioned
Yeah,
something
sure.
about where was it? Hold on, I had a good question for you. Okay, yeah, you said that so sports psychology is a specialized area of psychology, and
Right.
I also read on your website too. You don't consider yourself to be a fully trained clinical psychologist, but I was curious
Right.
uh, as to
It's not my specialty to be a clinical psychologist, but I'm
okay,
trained in clinical psychology type stuff. So I
okay,
do work in mental health stuff with my players, and I do touch on stuff. But if there's a moment where I'm thinking, no, this issue is bigger than me, I can't deal with that, then I have to refer them on, and I have to know where that line is. So
okay.
but I can do a fair bit, so I can look after my players quite well.
That's what I was gonna ask you is how often does your sessions turn into, I mean, essentially like straight up therapy, like when it comes to like discussing sport problems? And then with this in mind, what are your thoughts on the idea that most in-game issues are actually just real life issues, but just uh like surfacing
Mm,
on a in-game, like when you get into in-game stuff?
yeah. I haven't come across. I don't think there's a strong crossover between like real life issues going into esports
Okay.
so much. There are for some people, but that's a subset of people, not a large group. I think.
Okay.
Um, I forgot the first part of the question though. Sorry.
Let me see that. Oh yeah, it's how often do your sessions turn into like just
Right.
essentially
How
straight up
often?
therapy? Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Well, you'll see in some of my answers that I'm giving into the questions that came up from your viewers that some of it is like psychology stuff, and some of it is not really mental health, but it's how just the concept of like being a good teammate involves not tilting others. For instance, we're getting into that topic, but
Yeah.
um, just looking after people's mental health, because you know that if you tilt them, it's going to be bad for performance. So
Yeah.
yeah, just it all sort of melds into one, but it's not a whole lot of mental health stuff. It's a lot of it's sports stuff. is
Okay.
driving it.
There's a lot more like behavioral type things, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So that's a good point, Sam. So I want to say that a sports psychologist is someone who looks for patterns of behavior. And
Okay.
you have to look and see what is it that someone's doing, thinking, and saying that leads to good performance and get them to do it more often. And what is it they're doing, thinking, and saying that leads to bad performance and get them to stop doing
Reduce
it.
that. Okay.
And it
Okay.
sounds easy, but a lot of
Yeah.
things are sort of interacting with each other. And so you just got to pick out the right patterns of behavior to look for. And it's exactly the same in esports. When my players are talking and saying, I can't hit the side of the barn. My shooting is terrible right at the moment. What do I do? And so you need to look at, okay, well, what are the patterns? What's surrounding that? What are you thinking, saying, and doing that's helping you or not helping you? And that's where we work. So I'll be
Yeah.
talking about that in some of our examples today too.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think that's why I was curious in the question because I've always been under the belief that like behaviors are the outcomes of like some type of
Right.
an eternal emotional state.
What you're thinking and what you're saying. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
and that's why I was curious is that like how what the crossover between real life issues and in-game issues because I've noticed personally like let's say I was like I've been like really insecure in the past, like that insecurity will show in game when it comes to like I don't know, like my teammates are gonna flame me if I miss this shot, and it's like
Right,
I
right,
I
right,
could feel it's the same exact type of emotion almost coming up,
right.
and that's why I was curious with that
Okay.
question. Yeah.
I will definitely be talking to you about that when we get to that question a bit later on.
Really? Okay, cool. Because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually would need that. I actually need that.
Yep.
Okay.
No
I
worries.
had some other questions too. So you said you mentioned your son. I saw on your website, and you also just mentioned now that your son was a gymnast. And on your website, you
Mhm.
said that he was like your exhibit A, like you're like
Right.
practicing almost. And I was
Yeah.
curious because I was curious about how. Well, I can first of all I can relate to this because my dad is a therapist, and I actually go to
Mhm.
him with like a lot of like in-game mental stuff. I'm like, hey, like this is coming up, anxiety, yada yada yada. And then I'm like, what's your thoughts? And he'll help me with that. And so I was curious, is how did you, um, walking your son through sports psychology, how like interacting with him in that aspect, how did that affect your relationship? And if it did it improve it? I would assume. You're
Yeah.
interacting with them more. Yeah.
I have a great relationship with both my sons,
Okay.
and I'm truly hoping that they're not going to need therapy later on in life. But
Yeah.
so I have my PhD was in an area where looking at how nerves affects performance. I mean, it's a really good topic because it affects a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it is on the basis of my friend who was the 400-meter hurdler. That's why I got started in that topic.
Yeah.
So from that, I've developed like a really good tight little podcast or a little podcastable moment of teaching people how to deal with that and how to change things so that they're in the right frame of mind to compete well. And so from that, I had some because I'm a sports psychologist, and the Gymnastics Association where my son was said, would be handy for us to hear what you've got to say. I used to give a couple of talks to the players, to the gymnasts,
Mhm.
about what they could do to get themselves right to perform well.
Yeah.
And so that was that aspect of it for me talking to the gymnasts. But of course, just the way that you carry yourself in life is a lesson, and that's what I did with my son, um, or the value of my son, and I think has in sort of seeing how to just react to things, how to not react to things when they're unexpected things that don't go right. And one example might be, I mentioned in there how he had a significant accident when he was trampolining and
Mhm.
broke several bones in his neck. And it was lucky that he was not a paraplegic. Actually, it was
Oh
very
wow.
not touch and go, but it was just very lucky that he survived that. A, survived it, and B, didn't affect his ability to walk afterwards. There was a guy, a footballer, who had exactly the same accident in that same week as as my son,
Yeah.
and he's a paraplegic. I mean, it's just such
Wow.
a fine line. But anyway,
Yeah.
so we didn't know at the time how significant the injury was. I mean, we knew it was pretty significant, of course. And he had feelings, so we knew that he was going to be able to get back to be able to walk. We weren't sure whether he was going to be able to be a gymnast again. So it was a 2-year journey for him to go, like, from the accident to being back at gymnastics. And through the way, we had some setbacks of them not picking up that he actually had a significant fracture. For a while there, he was able to sort of just go about with just a collar on, and then we got a phone call about 2 weeks later saying, "Hey, we've just discovered you need to come back for surgery. This is really important. Don't
They didn't
do
see
anything
it?
in the meantime." Yeah. So so he had like surgery and being in a collar for months and months and months, it'd be 6 months or more, and there was a long setback and things that we thought were going right, and suddenly it just didn't work out, and it was another delay. And how do you cope with it? The hope being up here, and then
Yeah.
oh no, it's not quite. And so just to keep him motivated, and he ended up coming back to gymnastics, and he was probably a better athlete afterwards.
Oh, so he like fully
But
recovered, like
yeah, he
completely.
recovered. Yeah, and went back to
Oh,
gymnastics and was there for a year or two. But he fell out of that cycle of Olympics, and it wasn't worth him staying on and an extra 6 years instead of 4 years, for instance.
mm,
It just wasn't worth it for him. So he retired just actually before COVID. So it was actually really quite good timing for him from that point of view.
yeah,
And
yeah.
just resumed his life and he's still hoping to get a career in gymnastics, but in the sports management side of things.
Oh, he's not gonna
So
be a psychologist, take
no,
after his mom?
no, 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 no,
Ah,
no.
missed
But he's
opportunity.
doing really well. He's doing really well, and yeah, it's all good.
That's good. I'm glad he made a full recovery. You said he
Oh
was almost
yeah.
paraplegic. I was expecting some
Oh,
type of like long-lasting damage of some
me
sort.
too. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good for
It could
him.
easily have been just luck more than anything else. I'm trying to avoid that sun. I'll go this way a bit more.
Yeah. It's like you're getting flashbanged right now.
I know it's
Yeah.
a bit bright.
I
Sorry
was
about that.
No, you're good. You're fine. I was gonna say you mentioned that you got a PhD in. Did you say specifically for calming down nerves?
Yeah,
You
so
said
my
something on the.
PhD topic was learning about how to get yourself in the the right frame of mind, energetically wise, to perform well.
So are you like? Would that be so? Sports psychology is already a specified area of psychology, and you specified in a area of sports psychology. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes,
Oh
yeah, yeah.
wow.
That was my topic for my PhD.
Okay, that's cool.
So you have to have for a PhD, you have to come up with a topic that's no one's done before. You have to extend the topic a bit further for the field, and so I managed to do that with my topic area.
Oh, is that like that's like the final paper that you turn in, right?
Yeah, it's like it's a
Okay.
thick book, like 60,000 words.
Oh my,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
that's
it's big, and
crazy.
that's why I've turned it into a podcast so people don't have to read it.
Yeah, and you did it about nerves.
Yeah, yeah.
60,000 word. How do you say calm down 60,000 times like that? Man? That's that's a crazy amount of
Yeah.
words.
Well, you got to look at all the different theories and things like that, and say, well,
Yeah,
okay, which
yeah.
one explains it best? And I'm not doing a good job with that son. It's going to be horrible, but never mind.
No worries, no worries. I also read on your website that you said you don't want to get you don't like to be treated as the consultant who gets called in to fix things. And I was curious.
Right.
I've always heard this statement. I got this from Healthy Gamer. I don't know if you've ever seen him on YouTube. He's like
Yeah, I
he's
have.
just
Yeah.
yeah. I really like his videos. He always says an
Yeah.
ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I was curious, is this the philosophy that you are going off of when you made that statement?
Exactly.
That you're
Yeah,
you're
the
more
same
of
sort
the
of same sort of idea.
yeah.
So let me go back and explain a little bit more, perhaps, because I'm in a very unique position, probably unlike most other people who want to be sports psychologists.
Why
I'm
is that?
old. I'm close to retirement age. I'm going to be 62 in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks time.
Are you
And
retiring?
no, I'm not retiring, but I'm at a stage of my life where I've had a career,
Yeah.
and I wanted to do something that I really loved. And so I got into esports, which is a very volatile industry. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
I'm crazy for doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not good for my nerves. But anyway, um, Oh gosh, this sun is horrible. I can't avoid it at the moment.
You got blinds, a
I need an
curtain or
umbrella.
something? Yeah.
I have got blinds, but there's a gap in the curtains.
Oh
All
my
right,
goodness.
so anyway, so where was I going with this? I've forgotten what we were talking about. Sorry.
The
Oh
ounce
yes,
of
how old I
prevention.
was.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
so my idea is that I'm full time in esports nowadays. I gave up my career in university teaching because I loved esports so much. I work in multiple regions at one time, so I work in my time zone in my evenings with my teams in Australia and New Zealand, and I usually work in either North America or Europe in my mornings, which is their evening scrim times. So, I talk to my traditional sports psychology clients in my afternoon. So I have a full day usually
You
of
can't escape it.
people that I work with. Yeah, I
Oh
love it.
my.
That's how much I
Yeah.
love it.
Oh my
But the
god.
reason is, I like to set myself up with teams or working with an organization with multiple teams where I work with the teams, like I sit in on their scrims and I intervene in as many ways as I can. I come from a high performance background in traditional sports, so I know what it takes to do everything to the maximum, to do everything in your ability to fix the little things,
Mm-hmm.
everything,
Yeah.
so that you're giving yourself every chance of success. So I don't let little things slide. I make sure that we're paying attention to everything, so that
Yeah.
we can move as fast as we can through the ranks and be as successful as we can. Because who wants to languish down the bottom a whole long time? No one.
No.
So
Yeah.
let's do this right, and let's just get our thinking right, and just do everything we can to maximize our performance. So that's what I'm bringing. But you can't do that if you're a consultant. So people who are younger, they have to have another job usually, because sports psychology
Like you were.
doesn't pay enough
Yeah. Like you're saying
to
earlier.
give you a full-time wage. Right. So they're working a proper job probably, and then they come along to scrims if they want to, maybe on top, but usually they just get called in as a consultant. So when something goes wrong, someone will call them and say, okay, we've got a problem here, let's try and fix this. And you're behind the 8 ball before you even start, because you've got to hear then what the problem is. You haven't heard it firsthand yourself. You're relying on their recall and telling you what they think is going wrong, and then you've got to try some stuff. And it's a slower process. Whereas the process where I do it, where I'm there with my team all the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
and some teams don't actually like that. That's okay. They're the ones I don't work with, I suppose. But the teams that are okay with me being there, it's usually good fun. We maximize our performance. We tend to go quite fast compared to everybody else because we're fixing up things as they happen. Making them small, getting small things fixed up so they don't become big things.
Also, too,
That's
with
the
you.
idea.
Yeah. That makes sense. I was gonna say too, with you working alongside of them, I always heard the 4 stages to learning. There's like the 4-stage learning module, and the first stage is always unconscious incompetence, which is the idea that you are unaware that you
Don't know how
are.
much you don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're unaware that you don't know, and with you working alongside them, you could pick up on where
I have
they.
so much experience. Yeah, I can pick up
Yeah,
that stuff much quicker.
where because if you were to, I feel like if you were to go out of your way to consult a sports psychology, you'd only be talking about the things that you know are wrong, but
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
You don't know
what's not
what's wrong. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the benefit of you working like alongside with them. That's really cool. I have plenty of more questions I want to ask. I have a whole list. I have a whole list that I had here just for this one, and I have a whole list on my phone too. But
Right.
you prepared the lecture. You
Well,
said
is
it's
there
about
any viewer questions there first? Or anyone want to ask a question there first?
yes. If anyone in the
we
chat
got-
wants to ask a question too, we can take some viewer questions right now. Also, too, going forward, she said that during her lecture, like she wants this to be like an interactive experience. So if you guys have any questions during what she talks about, feel free
I'm
to ask
relying
away.
on Sammy to tell me that what's happening, because I won't be watching that.
Yeah, let me see if there's anything in the chat real quick. My teammate asked you if he can intern for you. he asked this quite a while ago. He's actually studying sports psychology.
I get asked that a lot.
Really?
I can't do that unfortunately.
Oh
But
man.
I think the best thing to do is to to watch a lot of podcasts. There's some
Okay.
good people out there putting out some good content. Um, and yeah, I can definitely give tips to people if they want to follow up with me. That's no problems at all.
Okay. Hopefully he's still in here and he saw that. Someone
Sure.
asked a question. One I thought of just now is how do you draw the line between toxicity and passion? Because you were just, I mean, I'm assuming he's going off of what you
Yeah.
were saying earlier about being like
Right.
highly efficient. Like, let's get this stuff down. Let's get it nailed down. Like,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, the answer to that is how does it affect performance? So you know it's toxic if it negatively affects performance. And if it's passion, it'll positively affect performance.
okay. So it's
So
all about like
it's
how
the
they're
question is,
defined.
okay, how is it affecting performance? That's the question.
Okay. Someone else just asked another question. One I've had for a while. How do I stay in a state of flow while I was playing? Do you address this one in the lecture? I thought I
Yeah,
saw
I
something
do
about.
talk to that one. Yeah.
Okay,
We're
we can
covering that
set
one,
that
so
for
we'll get
later.
to that in a tick.
Oh, my dad's
Yep.
asking, what are some of the things you assess and address when working with a new team?
Uh So I'm a big fan of comms. So listening to comms and the way that people talk to each other, that's the most important part in a game, right? So if you're playing as
Yeah,
a team game, you've got to be able to say the right things that will help your team perform well and stop saying things that don't help them perform badly. I
simply
mean,
put. Yeah.
yeah. So we'll talk about that a bit too.
Okay, I'm excited to get into some detail here. Um, okay, I don't think there's any other questions. Do you wanna? Yeah,
Shall we roll with the other stuff?
Yeah, let's pull up the lecture here. All right, let's see if this. Boom, it worked. Okay, so it's visible now, so you can interact
Is it
with
going?
this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rightio. So what I want to do is maybe just scroll through and talk to you about some of the questions that came up and what my answers are, and I'll throw to you guys and ask for your opinions on some of these things too. So let's go to the first question. So I was asked best way to healthily deal with tilting. So this is such a good one because it's on every team, isn't it?
Yeah. I
Um,
personally have to. I personally deal with this quite a bit. I'm not gonna lie. I remember last season I'd get tilted really bad and I go like punch a punching bag. I'm gonna be
right,
taking notes by the
right.
way. If I'm like kind of quiet for a bit, I want to learn here too. So I'm gonna be taking notes.
All right, I'll give you a poke when we're ready, okay?
Okay.
so, so the idea is that we're always in the back of our mind, we're thinking about this idea of, is it helping or hindering performance? So on my picture I've got here, we've got our ultimate goal here on the right-hand side. We want to lift the trophy and be winners. And so if we're here with, in the middle of this blue line here at the moment, we want to do thoughts, actions, and words which move us closer towards our goal and stop doing the things which don't help us move close towards our goal. So we need to identify what those are. And tilting is one of those things. If you're the one tilting or you're causing tilting in others, they're the things we need to pay attention to because they don't help us move closer to the goal. So bear in mind, this is the whole concept of what we're working off. Is it good for performance or is it bad for performance? That's the answer. That's the question we're asking ourselves. So the things we can do to stop ourselves from tilting is firstly, it's a good idea to recognize when, do we know what those behaviors are? Usually we do, right? You know what things cause you to tilt. And you have to build up some resilience, ideally, so that you tilt less often. So, some of the things you can do include like 3 deep breaths, is one of the easiest things you can do to just calm yourself down. Now, most of us, when we're just talking and interacting with people and just everyday life, I know I'm really lazy as well. We just use the top part of our lungs to breathe and to do things. But when we want to take 3 deep breaths, we really have to fill our lungs all the way down to the bottom, get maximum oxygen in here because our brain will use the oxygen and say, okay, now I'm feeling a bit calmer. So breathe in through your nose for, let's say, 4, out through your mouth for 6. Do that 3 times. and that's a really great calming strategy. It's also a really good one to do, as you know, if you're in a game that has, you know, lots of battles, lots of fights. Um, if you know there's a battle coming up, then you know just breathing calmly will help you, you know, steady your own nerves so that you can take on the fight and do better that way.
Oh, can I
I
ask something real quick
Yeah, go ahead.
for the
Yeah, go ahead.
breathing? I,
hmm
have you ever seen Andrew Huberman on YouTube?
Yeah, I
He's
love human
I,
podcasts. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I've heard him talk about the physiological sigh. I'm assuming that would be along the
Yes.
same lines of that, like the
Yeah.
double inhale and then like
Yeah,
the
so
slow
it's
exhale.
when you're breathing in, you know, breathing in through your nose, and then you breathe in a little bit more
Yeah, yeah,
on top of that,
to fill it up.
and that's meant to be really good as well. Correct, physiological
Yeah.
side to reset physiology. That's correct.
Okay. I was just
Yeah,
curious.
big human fan.
Dude, I love him. I just have so many notes
Yeah,
from all his podcasts.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I do
sorry to
too.
interrupt.
All right, okay. So then another thing that you need to be aware of is that, you know, in comms, when stressful things are happening, often you get some people who are more hyped than others. And so, you know, if they're starting to repeat things, that's often a sign of stress as well. So I try to stop double speak in comms, and uh, just generally being too hyped up can impact the stress levels of teammates. And so if you notice that your teammates are getting a little bit too hyped up, um, you can speak a little bit slower yourself, and that will encourage them to slow down as well. But speaking slower generally means that it feels less stressful. If you can imagine an emergency, like there's a fire and there's someone running around like a headless chook, saying, you know, everybody get out, get out, get out. But they're not being really specific instructions. They're just making a lot of noise and actions, but not productive ones. Um, then that's not so useful. But if you've got someone saying, you know, everyone take the stairs, come down this way, you know, speaking more calmly, you're more likely to take that information in and do something useful with it. So just try to be speaking calmly. Speaking a little bit slower is usually quite helpful for nerves as well, and to stop yourself from tilting. Okay, let's imagine you already feel tilted. So at this point, you know, your teammates have done something, and you think, oh, I'm really mad at them. um, if you've got time, you know, you're already dead and you've got time, you can walk to the bathroom and splash some water on your face or between maps or whatever, between scrims, or go to the kitchen and refresh your water bottle, stand and stretch, pet the pet, one of those ones. Um, Anything that removes you from your current situation, just sitting in your chair looking at the screen is not moving yourself away from that situation. So making a physical geographical change from how you're sitting and looking right now is good to reset the brain, to calm yourself down a little bit. Looking away is another one. So if you can lean back in your chair and look over the top of the computer screen into the distance, it relaxes your eye muscles.
Yeah.
Again, it's resets you for regrouping your thoughts, coming back a bit calmer, and then sort of looking at the screen one more time. So it's all help from that point of view.
I was gonna
And the other thing I want to mention, go
I was
ahead,
gonna
you
say
guys,
that was the other thing he talks about too with the physiological sigh is to something about expanding your field of vision, because if you're always like focusing narrow, like it's causes
Right,
stress.
right.
That's like what you're saying there essentially, right?
Right, right. So you know when you're gaming, you know you're sitting a fixed distance
Yeah.
from the screen. Some of them are very very close,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
it's really tight for your muscles and your eyes, and they get tired. So looking beyond your computer screen is a good strategy just to momentarily relax your eyes. It doesn't take very long to do. It's just something really easy, but it's a good mental reset from that point of view too. The other thing to remember is, or something I want to discourage on all my teams, is for players to bang the desk, sigh when they're killed, just generally add negative energy to the comms. We don't want that. And so it's important to realize that you're responsible for your own energy that you bring, and what you bring definitely affects your teammates. Um, so you need to, pay attention to, what is my energy that I'm bringing? Is it helpful to my team or not? And really be conscious of that because it can impact performance in a significant way. Alrighty. So, and then sometimes if you're a person who is overthinking, it's not really to do with tilting, perhaps, but it might be just to do with overthinking. If you're worried about, something that you did the previous round and you can't let it go, or maybe your teammate did something to you and you can't let it go, you have to recognize when you're doing that in the first instance, because sometimes people are a bit unaware. So make more effort to be aware of what you're doing, and then maybe change look at your environment and try and think of three things that are around you that will match each of your five senses. So, what is it you can see, hear, touch, smell, and taste? So, they're your five senses. Try and choose a couple of things, doesn't have to be three, but choose a couple of things around you to stop yourself from thinking of something in the past. So, you get on a bit of a loop. And if you're thinking of stuff in the past and you can't move past it, or if you're thinking of stuff in the future and oh, we're about to win this tournament, and what will this mean? We'll have lots of prize money. We'll get to go to the next stage in a LAN overseas, and all these exciting things. That's not
Pressure.
useful for performance.
Yeah.
And so, what you got to do is okay, stop that. Stop thinking about those things in the past or the future. What is it right now I can do around me? What are my senses saying around me? And that just brings me back to the current state of mind, and that will let me perform well right now. Okay, so here's where I'm going to ask. Okay, so who's got some other good ideas for you to stop yourselves from tilting? Has anyone got some good strategies that I haven't mentioned yet?
See in the chat if it comes up. I can try and think of some.
Yeah, what ones have you got?
Well, I mean, you've taken the deep breathing was like my go-to. I'll try and just like take a couple deep
Right.
breaths.
Does it work
Um,
for you?
I'll try it and then I'll just like I'm
Yeah.
like right back into the full tilt. I'm like, man, fuck, like,
Right. See, you gotta try more than one thing, probably.
yeah. I think the thing that's been helping the most, I end up doing this in between games, is what you said, the geographically moving yourself. I'll like there's a beam across like the ceiling over here. I'll just go over there and like do like a dead hang, just like stretch real quick and
Yeah, lovely.
yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
So someone said CL underscore mute all, which is like they just mute everyone, pretty much.
Right. Well,
Uh,
sometimes if you're the one that's tilting and you want to say some things or bang the desk or whatever else, I don't know. I don't recommend it, but if you have to, because I don't want negativity on comms, you need to mute yourself.
yeah, that was yeah, okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Yeah, because
Right.
I've had teammates in the past who would do stuff like that, and then they're like, oh my
Yeah.
bad, I didn't know my mic was on, and it's
The
like,
the the bad thing is, if someone does mute themselves, people can see that usually, and that can be tilting for them as well. So,
mm,
ideally, you don't want to tilt. You don't want to mute yourself either.
yeah, I feel like that's
But
just like oh sorry, yeah,
no, I was gonna say, one of the obvious things is one of the things I do when I talk to teams when sometimes come in and they've got a problem. Let's say they've got a problem and they've called me in. Um, is it's often because no one's actually asked them, okay, what is it your teammates are doing that are tilting you? And I ask the question in Discord, in their team Discord, type it up, and I get them to respond by typing up their answers. Okay, what is it? Who is it that's making you tilt, and what is it they're doing? And I get them to type it up, but don't hit enter. So they're all typing away merrily. They're typing away,
yeah,
and when everyone's finished typing, okay, I say, right, hit enter, and I don't want them to read what everyone else has put. I just want their own opinions. So we hit enter, and all the answers come up, and then we go through one by one. What are the things that people are doing that are tilting you? And we try to get them to stop. But
yeah,
it's they might never have actually discussed this with their teammates before as to what is it you're doing that's causing me to tilt? Stop doing it, can you?
yeah,
um, and and sometimes they have tried to do it. Often the thing that causes people to tilt is getting criticized in game. We're going to cover this a little bit later, but getting criticized in game is one of the things that tilts people a lot. And if you know that it's happening, going back to that original slide, is it moving you closer to your goal or further away from your goal? if it's moving you further away from your goal, you need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
I know people have said, "Oh, I need to tell them when they're doing something wrong because they might not know." And everyone knows when they're making a mistake. Mistakes happen, but just pick the things that are important, not the little nitpicky things. But you don't have to be critical of your teammates on every single point.
Yeah.
That's probably a big thing.
I would also say, to add on to that, I've noticed in my experience, if you were to get critical like that, you like save it for after the game. Anything that like goes into
Right.
detail shouldn't be said like
Yeah.
mid. If you can change it instantly.
We'll get to that. We'll get to
Okay,
that, Sam.
we'll get to
that.
to touch
Sorry.
on something else you said too was you
Yep.
said like to mention like what's tilting you to your teammates. I was gonna say I feel like that's like a big area that like I think it might just be men in general, but I mean I could say NACS lacks. I would argue it's probably a male thing, but it's just like the whole sharing your feelings. I feel like that's like a because people can be like, oh, that's some sissy stuff right there, but it's
Right.
100% beneficial as you're saying.
What I find is when I do that sort of process, write a question, have them type it up, not hit enter until everyone's done. I find that you get people's open and honest answers. If the team is really wanting to improve, and we set ourselves a climate of being open and honest, hearing from everybody to say, okay, these are the things that I think are issues that we need to have fixed. Why wouldn't you be listening to that and trying to fix them?
Yeah.
And because you actually do go through that process of trying to fix them, it means that everyone on the team knows that everyone's working together to fix the issues. And being solution focused is one of the key things for a team to be able to improve.
Getting everyone on the team to be on the same team, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important to know that your teammates care about you and your improvement and their improvement as much as each other. So where teams often break down is where one person thinks they're doing much more than everybody else, and then there's that resentment that's building up.
Yeah.
Whereas by debriefing this way, you see that everyone's caring and everyone's wanting to share and fix things, and it's a really great way of dealing with issues.
100%. I can't think of the book name. I was reading some audio book. It was something about building teams. Something about it was a book. I can't think of it. If it comes up, I'll tell you about it. But exactly what
Okay.
you're saying was in that book.
Yeah,
Essentially.
open and honest is what you're after. Yeah.
Yep, authenticity.
Mhm.
Okay.
There are a couple of good ones.
There's other people in the chat saying other solutions. Should I say those, or are we gonna?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give us what do they said?
Someone said humor. Kool-Aid on stream.
Oh yes, that's
He said
good.
humor. And then
Yeah.
Sona said
Lightning the sorry, Sam. Just
you're
never
good.
be afraid to have humor and have light comms. You don't, you don't want to be too serious all the time. You want to have fun playing. You're with these people a lot of time, a lot of hours each day. Why not make it fun? Yep.
100%. To add on to that, I think that's one of the realizations I had not too long ago. We picked up a new teammate. His name's Dylan. If he sees this, he'll probably think it's funny. But he brought like a lot of like just jokes to the environment, and we were like totally lacking that with the previous roster. It was way too serious.
They're worth $1 million to have people like that in your team.
100%. A totally different vibe when we play now.
Yeah. So cool.
Sona said in the chat, every once in a while when I get mega tilted, I end up just closing my eyes for 5 to 10 seconds to reset.
Yep, good one. Again, relaxing eye muscles is good. Yeah. Even better if you can sort of stand up and sort of just take a few steps away.
Yeah.
That's good.
Also to touch on what you said earlier about the teammates muting the mic, how it's like not preferable because just seeing the mic muted can also make someone else tilted. I would say too, isn't that essentially just like slapping a band-aid on a bigger problem? Because if you ever were to go to a LAN tournament, you can't just mute your mic. Like, I'm 2 feet away from you.
Right.
Like, you want to punch your desk.
We can see what's happening. That's
right.
That's
you can't hide that no more. And it's like, I feel like you're just building up a bad habit.
It's better than having negativity on comms. So it is slightly better than that.
Yeah.
But ideally, you don't want to have a muted mic.
Yeah. Okay. That's all the questions too. If you want to continue the next.
Okay. Okay, let's keep moving on. Thanks, everybody. All right, so the next one. Is there a particular language or wording you'd recommend for a situation where a player's in-game actions need to be immediately adjusted mid-match to prevent repeated errors while still maintaining a player's ego and motivation? So here's the how do you criticize a teammate pretty well? And I wasn't sure. It is a really good, great question. I wasn't sure whether it was the player's own, talking about yourself, or whether you're talking about another player. Nick's asking about another player, but let's talk about that. So I work with a lot of coaches, and one of the coaches I really love and admire is Zotek. I worked with him before in Valorant, but he and I are mates, and we have lots of great fun, agreeing on all of the stuff and disagreeing on some stuff. But one of the things I pinched from him that I really love is this idea that there's rules for being on a team. I love this because it's very straightforward. You have to do the work and you have to be a good teammate. And if you don't do either of those, then you're off the team. Really basic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So uh, this falls under the idea of being a good teammate. What is it you're doing and saying that's helpful for your teammate, being a good teammate? So you have to understand that feedback has a time and a place. So sometimes feedback needs to be given in game, but not a lot. If you're in a round and something's likely to happen in the next round and you want someone to be aware of it, yeah, sure, you can talk to them about, hey, maybe you should have gone here instead of here, or something like that. Just very quick, but it doesn't have to sound so critical. But also, there's two components to any message. So there's the message you want to give, but also there's the way that you say it, the emotion that you bring, and you have to be conscious about how you're delivering that message. What is the content and what's the emotion? And is this a good time and a place to do it? So if you're a good teammate, you would know that, if it absolutely has to be said in the round to avoid the mistake happening in the next round, and it can be handled really, really quickly, you'd be quite directive perhaps and say, okay, you need to do this next time. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. But if it's more significant than that, then you might need to note the round and discuss it afterwards, because you don't have time usually in a game to go through very long explanations about why things are happening. I know a lot of teams sometimes their feedback, they want to discuss the round before in freeze time, when you're trying to do the buy and hear the call about what you want to do for the next round.
Not enough
You can't
time.
afford to chip into that time. You haven't got time for that. So you've got to say, okay, well, let's just note the round. We'll come back and discuss it at the end of the game or the end of the night or whatever it is. And make sure you do that. Because if there's continued problems in that area, you want to fix those things. You don't want to have people still being mistaken about what they need to be doing. So make sure if you note a round, you do actually go back and talk about it. So thinking again still about, the time and place and the way that you might give the message I'm talking about now after the game is finished, after the round is finished, or after the map is finished, for instance, and you've got time to discuss it. You might handle this in two ways. Actually, I'm going to go back a little bit further. In the game, the way that we do it in our team is that a player who thinks there's a mistake happened, they would message the coach on Steam, for instance, and say, hey, have a look at this. This is what I think is the problem. So the coach could look then and check that player. You can check follow the player and just see whether they're doing something wrong. Because the coach might disagree with the player
Mm.
and say, no, he's doing it right, or that was the information he had at the time, or the coach is a little bit removed from the player at the time, so they can give immediate feedback to the player who thinks there's an issue, and say, okay, it's being handled. Don't worry, I'm messaging that guy, and we'll fix it up. But let's leave that's it. That's in the game. So
Yeah.
let's assume we're leaving it now. We've noted the round. We want to have a discussion at the end in a debrief after the game is finished. So in the debrief afterwards, you might talk about the round, and rather than saying, "Hey, you did something wrong," which is not the great way of addressing this, you might say, "I noticed you did this. can you tell me your reasoning for that?
Yeah.
And so you want to try and get into the player's head. Okay, well, I made this decision because this was the comms I heard, or I saw this happening and I had a read, or there's a lot of explanations as to why a person did a certain thing in a round, and you want to work out, okay, well, what is that wrong or right? Are they making the best decision they could? And then maybe they go through their explanation. You say, okay, well, had you thought of doing this? Because you think they've done something wrong, right? So you want to say, okay, have you thought of this? And they said, oh no, I hadn't. So that's something that's a revelation to you. Want to teach it as make it as a teaching moment, not as a you did something wrong and you
A
need to fix it.
criticizing
You
moment.
don't want
Yeah.
you don't want this accusatory style. So it's the way you deliver the message. But I like the idea of trying to help them learn what they've done and reflect on what the process was, so that the learning actually takes place. So they know next time, oh, this happened last time. I need to remember to do this. You don't want them just to be scared rabbits by saying, you must do this, you and picking on them a whole lot, because if you keep criticizing someone or if you keep nitpicking them over little things, they're just going to be too scared to make a mistake.
Mm.
And so they're not going to play well. You don't want that as a teammate. Why would you do that? So you got to try and remember time and place, content and emotion, bearing in all those things in mind, and try to help the player think and do things that will move them closer to performance, better performance. All right, so I think I've answered that one. Yeah, so it's just the idea that you you don't want to try and make a fool of somebody in front of others. So maybe if you can handle it nicely, sometimes even in private, not necessarily in front of the whole group, that's a better way to get a better response. Yeah, so I think I've covered all that sort of stuff there.
Yeah, really
Does
well said.
anyone? Oh,
Yeah.
so that's the way you might deal with it when you've got a criticism of another player. Now let's imagine you've got a criticism of yourself. This is
Mm.
a very common one too. So how do
I'm
you
gonna need
do
this.
the self-talk? I'm going to be asking you some questions here, Sam.
Oh, really? Okay.
Don't do too much writing. So
Okay, okay.
I'm gonna be asking you. All right. So how do you change a negative voice to a positive voice? Because this is what we're talking about. Really, is it's your own internal dialogue. So I'm assuming, Sam, you have an internal dialogue. I always check that first because not everybody
Oh,
does.
I do.
So
It doesn't shut
yeah,
up.
okay.
Yeah.
Usually it's not very pretty.
Yeah, it's
um,
not.
so so the idea is, you have to recognize when it is you hear the negative voice that's taking over,
When you said?
and take steps. Yeah, yes, because
Okay.
a lot of people, I'm not talking about in game now, I'm just talking about in life. A
Okay.
lot of people will go through life with this negative voice chatter that's going on in their head. I'm no good. I don't deserve all these good things are happening to me, whatever it is. They have these negative chatter in their head and they don't know, or they don't seem to know, they can take steps to stop that happening. So you have to acknowledge when it's happening and take steps to change it. So recognize when you hear the negative voice. Now, the negative voice is coming up because you have an unconscious fear, and it'll pop up all the time when that fear gets triggered. So you have to recognize, okay, well, what is the fear that's happening? And then you've got to actually attack that fear. Well, I come from a cognitive behavior background. So there's two ways of dealing with this negative voice to a positive voice. One is through positive psychology, and this is not my favorite way. So let me describe positive psychology first. If you have a negative voice in your head, positive psychology will say it's like a cloud that's drifting through. Or you're meant to treat it like it's a cloud drifting through your consciousness. You notice that you have a negative thought up here in the cloud, and you just let it drift past and say, "Oh, isn't that interesting? I've noticed I've had that thought." Now, I don't like that because it's taking up time and real estate in my head when to do that. I like to actually deal with it at the time. So I
Efficiency.
say I'm not interested in letting that thought stay there.
Yeah.
I want to get rid of that thought, and I don't want it to come back. So for me, I want to address the a fear, and I want to say something that's short, and would counteract that negative thought to make it into a positive thought. So here's Sam. I want you to play with me
Okay.
here.
Okay.
Give me an example of a thought. The worst sort of thought that you might have in your head in a game. What?
In a
Give me an
game,
example of one. Hmm.
um, it's like, don't take that fight. You're gonna miss the shot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say we'll just shorten it. You're gonna miss this shot.
Yeah, you're gonna miss the shot. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
You're
And
gonna
that's the
whiff.
important thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So what is the fear that's coming from that? You're gonna miss. The fear is, let me jump in and tell you. The
Okay.
fear is that you're not good enough. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would be the fear.
100%.
And so what you've got to do is now think of something that's short and sharp that would answer that fear that you're not good enough. That usually the way to do it really quickly is to sort of invert it and say exactly the opposite. Yes, I am good enough. And so you'd say, no, I am going to take this shot. But I can suggest these sorts of things and these sorts of words, but it's got to sound like it's words that you would use. That makes it more effective. So for you, Sam, would it be, um, I'll, I'm going to get this shot, or would it be, I don't know, what sort of words would you say to yourself that's really short and sharp that would answer that criticism that you're not
That I'm
good
not
enough or
good
you're not
enough.
going to take that shot? Yeah,
Uh,
I am good enough. Not no, I don't want to say I'm good enough. I want to make it specific about the shot. I am going to get this shot. That's what you would say, right? I'm going to get this shot. Is that the words you would use?
I'm trying to think of how I'd say it.
Hmm.
What I normally do, because I've had this situation come up. What I normally do is I try to accept the reality that I might miss instead of
I
like
don't want that.
trying. Well, I've accepted
you gotta
like
be more
the.
positive.
Oh, you think so? Because
Absolutely,
I would
absolutely.
approach it with a more of like a so be it type of mentality, where it's like if I miss, I miss. If I hit,
Right.
then I hit. Um.
No, I want you to be more positive than that. I want you to
Okay.
say, I'm gonna get this shot. And if you don't, what's the big deal? You've given it your best shot, right?
So I
So
should like shoot
put
for
yourself, yeah,
and
shoot
then
for the
have that.
maximum.
Okay.
And realize if you fall short a little bit, it's okay. but shoot for the maximum.
Okay, because I didn't have the trajectory of shooting for something higher. I would just have like whatever. If I miss, I miss. If I hit, I hit.
No,
But I
no,
see
be
what
more
you're
positive
saying.
than that.
Okay,
Yeah,
I gotta write that down.
yeah.
That's what I've
So
been
that
trying
would
to
be the
do.
way. Right, right. And this works for pretty well anything that any of the people in chat want to talk about too. Is you have to identify what is the fear that's coming up, because you'll have common ones that pop up all the time. What is the thoughts that you have? What is the fear coming from? Answer the fear, but maybe turning it upside down, and making answer that negative thought and change it to a positive thought.
Hmm. Okay.
That's the way to handle it, and it
I,
makes such a difference, because if you imagine yourself sort of performing, I'm thinking in traditional sport athletic events now, where you're a performer in front of a crowd and you've got the crowd on your side. You know how much it can lift you. It makes a big difference to your performance. But imagine if you're performing in front of a crowd and they're all totally against you.
mm,
It can have negative effect on you as well. So this
yeah,
is why you want that negative voice being something that's positive towards you, not something that's negative towards you at all.
I'm still trying to think of a short thing I could say. I don't know why this is so hard for me right now. But I mean, I guess
Yeah,
like
I'm not going to
you,
whiff this shot.
my teammate said to say Kovacs. It's like the aim trainer that everyone uses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, that would
Well,
actually probably work. Just
that is
Kovacs.
one way.
Yeah.
But that's not going to help you in the moment in a game. So
Yeah.
in a game, you want to say something to yourself
It's more
that is going to
positive than
be
that.
more positive, right?
Uh, I don't know why I'm struggling. I think it's because I'm so used to just like having this negative voice. I don't know how to like.
Right.
I don't
You've got to
know.
change it.
I do. It's definitely an issue. Yeah.
Hmm. So it's worth. I always get when I work with teams on this same idea, I get them to write down maybe three of their worst thoughts they think of, and then we work through it. And when again I sort of write down write down a message like I did before. Say, tell me your three worst thoughts, and they type it up and they don't hit enter until I say go, and then they come. And often in a team, you'll have the same, the same sort of thoughts. Everyone has
Everyone's got
similar
this the
thoughts, right?
similar fears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you talk about, okay, well, this is how you deal with it, but you've got to come in with your own words that will make sense to you. And so we sort of make changes, and we just pick one of the three and work on that, and you can see how the process works, so that next time when you have a negative thought, you know what to do with it, how to
That
change it.
hold on, let me write something down real quick, and I have a question or a statement
Hmm.
or something like that. I was gonna
Sure.
say, so when you said you have the whole the whole team send all their thoughts at once,
Hmm.
that I feel like
Hmm.
that'd be pretty helpful too, just becoming aware that your teammates share the
Yeah,
same fears. So
of
then, if you
course,
see them
of course.
struggling, it'd be like, "Hey, bro, you got this." Like,
Open and honest. That's
yeah,
right. Exactly.
okay,
And my teams, because I'm working with teams sometimes that I don't know them at all. In this sort of circumstance, they've called me in to do a unpacking the backpack session with them to sort out what their problems are. And this is how I work. Ask a question, get them to type up the answers, hit enter. Everyone gets to see what they've written, and then we talk through what they've got there. And it just means that there's a chance then to fixing and see what everyone else's thinking is, and that at the end of the session, the players usually message me afterwards and say, "That was fantastic. I've never been so open in front of my teammates before. It's been really
yeah,
great to hear what they're thinking and doing too."
yeah. No, it's definitely beneficial. There's been times where we've talked about stuff like that, like in terms of like
Mhm.
more the emotional
The
side.
risk is when you're talking with people, the risk is that maybe one or two people dominate, and one or two people might sit back and not say anything much.
Mm,
Whereas the way I'm doing it here, it forces people to have an opinion and have their opinion discussed in front of others. And it just means, everyone's got to contribute. So it's such a valuable tool. It's something I came on and developed like about 18 months ago or so, when one of my teams was in a really bad slump, and we
yeah,
had to work out, okay, well, what's going wrong? We thought there was just one problem, but actually, when we did it this way, I worked out that each player had a problem, and then we fixed each player's problem, and the slump was gone. It was just amazing. But I wouldn't have realized it had I not done it that way. So it was just
yeah.
revelation to me. Really great.
That's actually
So
really
it's something
interesting. The
it's
type
something
it
that I can
out.
share.
Yeah, I wrote
Yeah,
that.
and
I really like that. That's a gem
mm,
right there.
it's a winner.
100%. That's a gold
All
nugget
right,
in
so we
this
move on to the next one,
conversation.
or did you have a statement still?
I just wrote down "You got this." That was the best I can get.
Yeah, yeah, cool.
Just
That's
"You
a good
got
one to
this."
have.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, great. All right. So, how to deal with working or playing when you know that you aren't in your optimal state? I find it really hard to motivate myself to play if I haven't slept much, and I know I won't be playing well because of it. Okay. So, a couple of things in here I want to unpack. So, firstly, whenever I hear the word motivated, for me, I'm automatically thinking goal setting. Have you set the right goals? So it's important to know, are you um if you set yourself the goal to be like a tier 1 player, very high lofty goal, but your actions aren't backing that up because you're partying every weekend and you're drinking and eating and whatever too much, that then there's going to be a mismatch, and you're always going to be disappointed in yourself. So that's the first thing I want to check on. But the second part of the statement is talking about when you haven't slept well, you don't have to actually play badly on the back of that. I want to disagree with that part, the second part of the
Really?
statement, because um, you might have a really bad night's sleep, and you might think, oh, this is going to be a disaster. But actually, performance drop off doesn't have to be that bad. It's your attitude towards that matters more. So let me just
Yo.
explain this a bit more.
Let me write that down.
So yeah, well, it's in my notes here. It's all right.
'Cause I'm a
So
huge stickler for like trying to set myself in an optimal state where it's like, "Oh,
of
I had to get
course,
my
but
8 hours. I had to do
if
this."
something happens that you can't or you haven't managed to that night, like the night before a big competition, and you haven't slept well,
Yeah.
don't think the next day is going to be a write-off. Um, and this is where Jared Tendler, so he's a sports a guy who's worked in esports, but is more renowned probably these days for poker. And how to do the psychology of poker. But
Wait, mental game of
DDK
poker
is
or no?
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, I started
exactly.
reading that book.
So DDK cites him quite often, and actually DDK's got some great podcasts. So make sure you listen to his stuff too on sports psychology. Even though he's not well trained, he has such great experience and he expresses it really well. He's actually not far off the mark on the things that he has in his podcast. But anyway, Jared Tendler says if you can't bring your A game, make sure you bring 100% of your B game. Otherwise, you'll end up with your C game. And it's a really important concept because it's your attitude to, oh, I haven't slept well, therefore I'm going to play badly. It's that attitude that will cause you to play badly. What you have to do instead is say, okay, I haven't slept well, but it's okay because I know I can compete just as well. Well, I can compete really well even if I'm not in my A game. It's really important to understand that you've just got to do the very best you can with what you've got, not just let the whole thing slide. Um, so hopefully that will keep you motivated because even if you want to be like a much better player, and I want to go back to just going back to this question originally. So if you aren't in your optimal state, just do the very best you can anyway. And this is something I actually set up with my teams regardless. I don't want them to be at all worried about who they're competing against or the importance of a competition. I want that to be in the back of their mind, not even thought of. I want them to be giving their best performance every single time, and I want their scrims to be best performance that they can bring every single time too. Because in that way, if you're getting to be excellent in scrims, that's the fastest way to be excellent in officials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So even if you had a tough day at work or things haven't gone right, do the very best you can, and it'll still be not too bad. Don't worry about it too much.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Just like accept like I think I've been on a path almost to that conclusion, but I think you just like nailed it for me. But it's like
Right.
it's just like kind of accepting reality. It's like, yeah, this sucks. Like I'm tired, but so what? Like this is the
Yeah.
reality. Let's do
Suck
let's
it
do
up. Suck it
yeah,
up. Do it.
do what we
Yeah. Do it
can.
anyway.
Someone in the chat,
Yep.
Sona says, oftentimes I play better when tired. I
Right.
don't know if you have any
There's
comments
a
on
risk.
that.
There's a risk there that that's if you're setting yourself up to be a great player by cutting yourself short on sleep. I don't think that's a good way to do it.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
No, you've got to have good habits and good behaviors to set yourself up to be excellent. You're cutting yourself short if you're minimizing sleep or not looking after your sleep.
He
Yeah,
said
so
not on
I don't want to go
purpose
there.
though. It's just something I've noticed over
Right.
the years. That's what he said.
The reason it's probably happening is because when you have a reason for underperforming, suddenly if you're someone who feels the pressure of a match, an important match, and you say, "Oh no, I haven't slept well, therefore I'm going to underperform." You've got a reason now. The expectation is less, and
Yeah.
that's probably why he's managed to perform quite well under those. But that's to do with expectation, not to do with sleep. So that's why
Interesting.
I would talk to him about that being different.
They just remind me. Do you know who John Jones is?
No,
He's I think he's a heavyweight. He's like he's in the UFC. I've seen him say
right?
in several interviews that like he's like a reigning champ. Like he's like one of like arguably like a goat of the sport. And I've seen him in several interviews. He'd say like leading up to his fights, especially his like all his championship fights, he would party the whole week beforehand, just
Mm,
so he'd have like an excuse where it's like, oh, if I lose, it's because
right,
I did cocaine and I was drunk all last week, and then he would end up performing well, which I don't think it's like
right.
I don't think that's like a smart thing to do in the
No.
long run. But I mean, it kind of goes along with what you're saying. Like it can
Right.
help with that weird mental
To
game.
do with expectation.
Yeah, it's like a little band-aid
So,
you can use.
right. I think I talk about expectation on another slide, so we'll get to that
Okay,
later.
okay.
So, what's the best way to enter the flow state when playing CS? Oh, this is a good one because I know lots of players would love to know the answer to this. I would love to know the answer to this, to be honest. So, flow state, for anyone who doesn't know, it's this magical time where you feel invincible, where you feel that anything you do is going to come off perfectly. How many times have you experienced it in your life, Sam?
Flow state?
Yeah, flow state.
I mean, I can't put a number to it, but I know some of those matches I'll be in, I'm just like, oh, like you just feel it, like
Yeah,
you,
it's a beauty.
yeah.
Yeah. Like hundreds, tens? How many were we talking about?
Of like pure, just like if like there's been times where it's just like I don't know how to just describe it, like just pure flow. It's probably like less than 10, but there's been like several times where it's like I'm in the zone. I feel like there's almost like a difference.
Right.
There's times where it's like
yeah.
pure,
There is a difference. So
yeah,
in the zone is something you want to aim for, and you're quite able to aim for that quite regularly.
yeah,
You're more likely to hit flow state when you're in the zone. So like flow state is a subset of in the zone.
okay,
But you're right, flow state doesn't happen very, very frequently.
yeah,
And so when it does happen, you think afterwards, "Oh, that was just magical. That was fantastic."
yeah.
But it doesn't happen very often. But the more you want it to happen, the less likely it is going to happen. So the way that you do it is you want to be putting yourself into the zone as often as you can. And the idea is that you've got to feel that you have skills that match the requirements of what's being asked of you. So that's a minimum requirement, and then you have to let go. You have to trust that your skills will be enough, and it's the letting go part that often people have trouble with. But once you let go and it becomes automatic, and you just get into that flow state, it's amazing. But it's like when you blow bubbles, there's a moment when the bubble pops. It's that moment of realization, "Hey, I'm in the flow state. Oh, I've lost
And
it."
then you lose it, yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's so
So
frustrating.
it is frustrating. So, but the way to do it is to get in the zone, um, have skills that match the challenge, and let go and trust.
I heard too
Um,
is like almost like part of the requirements too for the flow state, like it has to be whatever you're doing has to be like not too difficult because then it's like it almost becomes like
yeah,
distress.
you've got to have the skills.
Yeah, and it can't be too
The
easy
skills is
either,
required.
or else you get bored. It's
Right.
like the balance between
Right.
boredom and
Correct.
distress.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
Oh,
So we all want to be in flow state. Go on.
yeah.
What
Oh,
are you gonna
there's just a
say?
question. I don't know if you're about to switch
Sure.
subjects.
Mhm.
My dad asked, "How do you deal with the inner critic?" I think he was referring to a couple slides ago with the
Right.
self-talk.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to touch on this
Uh,
later or if you're still on the topic of flow state or
yeah.
not.
But yeah, you've thrown my flow state now.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes. You have to accept that though. You have to accept what just happened. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
You'll get back to it.
Yeah. So getting back to the inner critic one, I think we answered that with the negative voice to a positive voice.
Yeah.
So
It'd be the same thing pretty much.
trying to make sure that your inner critic is giving you positive messages, not negative messages.
Yeah. Okay.
They're being a support. Alrighty. Okay, so let's move on here. Finding a balance of consistency and improvement while management of expectations. Okay, this is the expectations one we're talking about.
Okay.
Mostly for me, it's the whole online advantage, like consistently high ping, bad servers. The disadvantages pose a lot of mental block, right? So this one's just talking about how to be mentally tough. And again, I want to talk here about expectations as being the important part of the message here. So expectations are really a performance killer. And I spoke about, if you've been away from the sport for a while, or you're coming back from an injury, and you think, oh, I've got some reasons why I probably won't perform as well as I expect, then you can have a really great match actually, because the expectations are suddenly off you. The weight of expectations are off, and you play much better than you expected to. And it's because, you're not carrying that burden anymore. And so I try to work with my teams by saying, okay, well, we don't really want to put expectations on us. Um, I don't want us to be thinking about outcome. Um, winning the tournament or getting too far ahead of ourselves. I want us to play round by round and just doing the best you can in every round. And they'll all add up and the outcome will look after itself. So rather than having expectations, I would rather have my teams say to themselves, "Okay, let's just play our best." Now, I want to describe a team where the coach would often come in and say, "Okay, everybody, we've got to do our best here. We've got to win this competition because if we win this competition, it means we can do X, Y, Z, or whatever." And that moment is gone because I don't want actually I had to message him and say stop saying that message because I don't want my teams to think that way. I want them to not be concerned about who they're playing or the importance of the event. I want them to do the best they can with what they've got right here and now. And and it took him a long time to change focus because he realized that adding extra pressure to players wasn't helping their performance. Remember, we're moving away from our goal, not towards our goal. So I want my teams to do things that move them towards their goal. So
Yeah.
uh he saw in the end that what he was doing was not right, and so he managed to change it in the end. With me donking him over the head with a big stick many times.
Yeah.
So um changing your expectation for yourself. Just saying, okay, I'm just going to do my very best, and round by round, stringing them together, and the outcome will look after itself. And one of the things I do, as I said earlier, one of the things I do want to have my teams do is to have fun. I want there to be light comms. I want there to be humor. I want you to have fun with your teammates because enjoying what you're doing is actually very relaxing and it's very good for performance. Having a bit of a laugh and a bit of a joke. And I'm not talking about I'm not talking about losing focus on what you're meant to be doing, but I am talking about just having fun, just having fun
Yeah.
with mates, making it
Enjoy.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's so good for performance. Don't be frightened of having that.
I was gonna say, along the lines of expectations earlier, I think that's why,
Mhm.
when you asked me, like, what I would say to myself, that's why I had the answer of, like, "So be it," so I wouldn't have the expectation.
Right.
That
But
was kinda
again,
like the philosophy
that's
into it.
it's still too low. I want you to be aiming higher.
So you should
I want
what?
you
You
to
should
say,
be positive but have no expectations, would you say then?
yeah, I want you to do the best you can, and like aim as high as you can. And if you don't quite make it, that's okay, but aim high.
So
Um,
or
but to do your best is what I'm talking about.
I guess the difference would be, like, where your expectations are placed on, because then what you're describing there is an expectation on what I have
Okay,
control over, but an
let me go to
expectation of,
let me
like, the
go to the
win.
next. I'm going to discuss it a little bit later. I'm sorry, Sam. Can we
Okay.
wait? We'll get back into that one in a little
Yeah,
while.
yeah, that's fine, that's
I'm
fine.
sorry, sorry. Okay, so the other part here is about being mentally tough when the ping is just horrible, when the servers are horrible, because that happens so frequently, right? Excuse me. Gonna have a drink. Okay, sorry about that. Right, so no negativity on comms and don't complain about the ping because there's nothing you can do about ping. Nothing you can do about the server. So my teams are not allowed to mention it. Um, and so you just have to just do the very best you can with what you got. That's all there is. No point complaining about it because it only makes it worse for yourself and for your teammates to hear this negativity on comms. So if you're continually bringing it up, means you're mentally weak. We don't want that. So you've got to stop yourself from doing it. Don't mention it at all. The only things that you can focus on that you can actually control is your attitude and your effort. and that's the only thing that you can control. So just do your best and get on with it. Is the short answer for that one.
Yeah. Just accept reality.
Um,
Yeah.
right. Okay. Insight about ladder anxiety. So this is really good because this is right up my alley, my PhD topic. All right. So um, there's a really good podcast for you to look up. How to bring the right energy to your game. So Pockets Like Podcast is one that I did with my co-host James Devmata. So I use my podcast as a teaching tool in the same way almost that we're doing this today. But often I'll talk on a particular theme rather than a whole lot of different topics. But this one is just a ripper of a talk. It's my PhD topic done in a podcast,
Oh, wow.
and I highly recommend you all look at it because it's just brilliant. I think it's brilliant, but it explains stuff that people don't know. So it's yeah, very informative from
Can,
that point of view. So make sure you look it up.
is that gonna? I have access to that right in the slides. I'm gonna write that down and put that in the description after I post this.
Sure.
Let me
Yeah.
see.
Well,
Oh,
yeah. This was the first podcast that James and I had done in this format, and um, James had unfortunately forgotten to press the save button. I don't know, on Twitch or something that
oh
saves this as a
no.
podcast. And I was talking to one of my teams. So I was doing a teaching podcast like this, but with one of my teams that I just started working with. So I was introducing them to this idea and again making it interactive. And so we're hearing them, but the podcast was lost. And luckily, one of the coaches had been filming the podcast as we were
Saved
talking
it.
about. He saved it for me. So it's not quite in the format, the nice format that you would like it to be in,
Yeah.
but it's good enough. And I'm happy. I'm so excited that he did that. So thank you
Thank
very
God,
much.
man. Yeah, I'll be sure to watch that later. That sounds like really interesting.
Yeah, it's a real beauty one. It's often the first talk that I would do to teams when I work with them, and it blows their socks off. Because they
Okay.
think, oh, I've never thought of it this way. It's very, very important.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend you all have a look at that. But anyway, I digress. So one of the things that we need to do for ladder anxiety is it's this whole concept of don't think too far ahead of yourself. Don't think of the outcome, but also don't look at the scoreboard. So often I find players get anxious when they're not playing as well as they expect to. Again, remember expectations comes into this as well.
Yeah.
So you know when you're not having a great match, but it's made worse by looking at the scoreboard and having it confirmed. So don't look at the scoreboard. I mean, I know you have to look at the scoreboard for looking at the economy and all that sort of stuff, but try not to look at your numbers because there's no value in you looking at numbers. Usually you have a fair idea about how you're doing. It's pretty unusual for you not to know how well you're doing. You don't need it confirmed by the scoreboard. So leave that till the end of the game. Often when my players tell me they're getting stressed and worried about how well they're performing, it's because they're looking at the scoreboard very frequently. So stop doing that. Remember, it's a behavior that moves you further away from your getting good performance. So stop doing that. How you fix it? So I'm a spreadsheet queen. So I have a spreadsheet pretty well for everything, but I make up a spreadsheet for each player, which has like the date of the competition, their opponent, and the behaviors that are around shooting behavior. So, the outcome is whether you've made the shot and killed them or not, right? That's the outcome. But the behaviors around it is was your crosshair placement good? Was your movement good? Is your positioning good? What were the comms like from your teammates? Were you controlling your breathing? Were you feeling calm? What was your self-talk like? So I want to know a score out of 10 for each of those characteristics, those KPIs, key performance indicators. I've got them in a spreadsheet along the top in columns. Now I want to put a number out of 10 at the end of the map in each scrim. Give yourself a rating on those things, and there's a column there for any notes. So write down some notes. What did you notice about that game? So there will have been several opportunities, obviously, for you to have shot people during that map. How's it been going? What was your crosshair like? What was your movement, placement, positioning, all that sort of stuff? How was that all going in that map? And by having a pattern of results that's not really about shooting, but it's about the conditions around shooting, the brain suddenly says, okay, I'm not now looking just at the outcome. I'm looking at the processes and fixing those little things up that can lead to my outcome. And if I fix those little processes up, then the outcome will be assured. So do you understand what I'm saying, Sam?
Yeah, to like put the focus on what you have control over, and then
Yeah.
the results
Conditions
are
you have control. Perfect.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
no control over the outcome, but just do the best you can.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. And so it usually only takes like a couple of days and suddenly click, performance is back. They
Yeah.
can shoot really well easily again because they've worked out that, the conditions are right. There are controllable things they can do to help themselves.
So
And by paying attention to
yeah, sorry.
those, then they're setting themselves up. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was like going back to what we were saying earlier. So I guess that's where I was getting wrong, because I was trying to have no expectations when I'd have that thought of like the so be it if I miss. But what I was lacking
Right.
was the encouragement of like what I do
Right.
have control over, and that's why you're saying I should be more positive. Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you want to
The,
shoot?
the light's
Yeah.
going on.
Okay, it makes sense now. It makes sense now. So I
Yeah.
was like half right though, where it's like no expectations,
Yeah.
but I had to be more positive
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
You're sort of halfway there, but you wouldn't want to
Yeah.
go the whole way.
Yeah. 100. Okay. Let me change that then. 'Cause I feel like the you got this. Wouldn't that almost be setting an expectation? Should I just put like do your best?
Yeah. So do your best is the right expectation to have.
Okay. Well, you said for the little phrase, because I wrote down you got this, but I feel like that almost sets
Right.
expectation. So I feel like a better
So it
phrase is
was,
just do your best.
no, that's an all-encompassing thought. That's your attitude, right? Your attitude is
Okay.
do your best. But the thought you should have is, you like, I don't mind. You've got this. That's fine.
Okay.
You're gonna make this shot. Whatever, something like that.
Okay. I thought that was like also be setting an expectation with the little phrase.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Right, yeah. So here's where I was describing like outcome goals and process goals. So your outcome goal is your eventual, where do you want to end up at the end of the season type goal. Like you might want to finish a certain place. You might want to earn yourself a trip, to a LAN or whatever it is. So your outcome goal is over here on the right-hand side. It's the one that you've set as, what you want to do by the end of the season. Then along the way, you've got these 2 milestones where you're recording to see, okay, well, how am I doing? How am I going so far towards my outcome goal? Am I on track or not on track? And before we get to that, to make our outcome goal, what we want to have is something called process goals. So the little behaviors that are totally in your control, the key performance indicators. So they're the things I talked about before when our shooting is bad. So each of these blocks, I've now numbered them 1 to 7. Let's just say we're looking at 7 of them only. Each of these blocks represents a key performance indicator, something we want to pay attention to in our team, that if we did them to the best of our ability, then we're more likely to move closer to our desired performance, to our desired outcome.
Okay.
So they could be, block number 1 might be having no criticism in game of our teammates. That might be one of them. Number 2 might be aiming for light comms. Not too serious. Number 3 might be, I don't know, you come up with whatever 7 things you think are the most important things that will help you get to your outcome goal.
Mhm.
I've only chosen 7 because that's how many I can fit on the slide, but you don't wanna have, like, a multitude of 100. You wanna have just, maybe 7 or 8 ones that you think are the most important that will, I call them bang for buck. So, what's the smallest thing you can do that will lead to the biggest change?
Okay.
Um, and so you wanna have 7 or 8 of those. Now, I want you to see in my diagram, so this row of number 1 this is time down the bottom here. So
Mhm.
I'm measuring this key performance indicator for number 1, still at at milestone number 1, still important, and at milestone number 2, but shortly after milestone number 2, we don't need to keep measuring that anymore because we've got that under control.
You're like, it's already
We can
down
we
to,
can
like, an
st
unconscious level
we
pretty
can
much?
stop, yeah, we can stop
Yeah.
measuring it. Yeah, that's right. And whatever our key performance number 2 is, we measure and we have to keep doing it all the way through because it's really important. We can't let that one drop. And 3 and 4 is that, and when number 5, we can stop that a little bit earlier. Number 6, we can stop pretty early, and number 7 goes all the way through. So we don't have to keep measuring our key performance indicators all the way through the season. If we've got them under control, we can drop them out, and we don't have to be consciously paying attention to them.
Yeah.
But the some we will need to pay attention to all the way through. And but if we did them all the best of our ability, we know they're going to lead to success. Then at the end, even if we don't make our outcome goal, even if we don't win the tournament, even if we don't make the playoffs, whatever, we've done everything we possibly can to play our very best. Why would we be disappointed in that? The other teams, at some point, we're going to come up against other teams who are better than us. We have no control over that. So I think feeling pride in our effort is important if we've done
Yeah.
everything we possibly can, knowing, okay, well, and this sort of gets back. I don't think I have a slide for this, but and again, another important concept is it's just it's old age. I've forgotten. It's coming out of my head.
You're fine, you're fine.
um, so it was the important concept of I want to swear. I won't swear. Negativity off comms. Yeah, maybe I'm coming here.
That's right here,
What do we
yeah.
do? Oh, that's right. The usefulness of officials. So officials are only an important event to tell you how your team is performing right now. Because in scrims, you're trying out new stuff and you're against other opponents and you're learning stuff usually. Scrims are meaningless from that point of view, except that you get an idea of, so it's a practice. It's all it is, practice. But officials tell you where you're actually at. How far off are you from where you expect to be? And all it tells you is what things need to be fixed right now. Where am I at right now? What stuff needs to be fixed? And I'm never ever nervous when my teams compete, not just because it's not me competing, but because I've taught them what to do, and it's up to them now to put that into practice. And if they're falling short, it's because they haven't got the skills there yet. So we're thinking about of a growth mindset. It's not that they can't in the future, they can, but something else needs to be fixed, is what it's saying. If you're not performing as well as you thought, something else still needs to be fixed. So
That's
I want
yeah.
them. Go
I
ahead.
I was gonna say, about the officials, that's a really good way to look at it, because 'cause I'd always look at officials where it's like, "Alright, now's the time,"
Do
like
or die, isn't it?
yeah,
That's
it's
what
like, I
most
have to
people think of it.
perform, but the way you
Yeah,
describe it makes it a lot less pressure, where it's more like, this just tells us
right.
what we're lacking, but might as well do our best to find out what
Correct.
we are lacking
Correct.
at. Way
And
less
and if you're
pressure.
playing against a team that you think, "Oh, gee, that's they're the number one team," or there's something great about this other team we're playing,
Yeah.
don't be awestruck by that because they're on their own journey as well.
Yeah.
I always think of the other team as being more like a helper to you as opposed to an opponent, because their job is to help you identify what's not working.
Yo, that's really good.
It's big, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so it's a mindset. It's the way you think about things. And so don't ever be upset if you've underperformed. It just means that you're not there yet. And there's still things to be fixed. And this other team have now revealed to you what things you've still got to fix.
Yo, that's
And that's
that's
mind
huge.
blowing because that
Yeah.
helps you.
Yeah. Okay, wow, that's yeah.
So never ever be frightened of officials. Learn to love the pressure. Learn to love to test yourself because this is officials are just a way to test yourself under pressure conditions. Learn to win under pressure, and that's the key to it all.
I like that. I liked it a lot.
Oh, I'm so glad I had a slide about that because I couldn't remember it.
We would have lost that too. That was gold.
Oh, we would have lost. Yeah, it's genius, isn't it?
Yeah. I love that. I
But
don't know
yeah,
if you,
it's an attitude. Okay. Alrighty. So, are there any questions popping up in chat that we need to address that we haven't?
not at the moment. No.
Okay.
Good to continue.
I think that was the end of the questions. I think from memory. Yeah. So I've only got a slide there to talk about how to become a sports psychologist.
Okay.
If anyone's at all interested in that, but
Also, I will mention we are going a little bit later than expected. If
sure. We're done all the questions now, so that's okay.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure if you had like much more to cover, and we could save it for another time or not. I don't want to. I know you have clients and stuff, so I don't want to.
Nah, I'm good for today. It's fine.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Hopefully everyone's learned a whole lot of stuff today.
I have pages of notes right here, so awesome. Do you have I thought you were gonna continue to
No. Does anyone have any questions they want to add or?
Oh, okay, yeah,
any
questions.
comments?
Yeah, any questions before we move on to the how to become a sports psychologist?
Oh, we don't need to cover that if you don't want to, but
Oh,
there
we
is
don't
a
have to.
slide if you want to
Yeah,
cover.
that's why I mentioned that because of the timing. I wasn't sure if you wanted to cover the
Oh,
rest.
I'll throw it up, but just because a lot of people are very interested in the sports psychology career, and they don't really realize how much effort is involved. And so even though I'm talking about Australia here, it's probably going to be similar in America and anywhere else, anywhere
Yeah.
that's major competitions. So you start with a 3-year Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science or Education degree. You have to major in an accredited course of psychology. Then you do a 4th year, an honours or a graduate diploma. Um, then 2 years master's degree course. This is all full time. So you can do it part time, of course. And that would be the end of your academic side. So that's 6 years of study so far.
Shoot.
And then you've got to do 240 hours of practice under the supervision of a sports psychologist. So that might take 6 months to a year, perhaps, to do. And then you register as a sports psych with APRA in Australia. That's the regulating body that makes sure you're ethical, and they'll fine you and expel you if you've been doing naughty things. um, so you have to register as to be able to call yourself a sports psychologist. Now you can't call yourself a sports psychologist unless you've done that minimum standard. The way that people get around it, if they want to be working in that sort of area, they would call themselves a mental coach.
Mm.
So if you're actually wanting someone who's been fully trained, got lots of experience, you wanna look for someone who calls themselves a sports psychologist. You're not able to use that title unless you're fully qualified. So someone who's calling themselves a mental coach may not have the same background,
Would
academic background.
that would be similar to like a therapist and a life coach, right? Where like a
Oh,
life coach
probably,
doesn't need
yes.
as much training,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whereas like a
Correct.
therapist would, or a psychiatrist.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
And if ever you want to teach at a university, the universities require you to have a PhD. So that was a further 6 years of study, 5 or 6 years, 5 years of study for me. But I did that part time. So
Yeah. Yeah, some
11
credentials.
years of tertiary study for me. And then sports psychology, as I said, you can't make a proper living probably by being full time in sports psychology. So people will often have another job and they'll do sports psychology stuff on the side as I did.
Yeah.
So that's my pathway anyway, or the general pathway, and then added my pathway is how I got here.
We got some questions coming in. So
Okay, great.
Jason Ree, will there be a VOD? Yeah, there will be a VOD of this stream. I'll post it. My dad is asking, he said, as a licensed therapist, can one still specialize as a sports psychologist, or is there an additional degree that is required?
I'm not fully aware of what the requirements are in the US, but I imagine if you've got some psychology training to you, you would need to go through all the bachelor and the 4th year. You'd probably just need to do masters, I would say. If it's well, that's what it would be in Australia. I don't know if it'd be the same in America, but I assume it would be.
Okay. And then
So 2 years.
another question. My teammate asked again if he can intern. She already said no. I don't know if you missed that part. He also asked too, are there a lot of research opportunities in sports psych?
Research opportunities.
Yeah.
Well, generally, if you were working at a university, that's where you would get the research opportunities. But because there are so few courses around the world, I would say it's probably pretty limited. But it's not it's not an area I know a lot about. Sorry.
Okay. My dad said he has a master's in psychology, so he would probably not need
Right.
as much schooling as
No, you might need maybe some units in sports psychology though to top that up. In that
Okay.
case, so yeah, be a part of a extra bit added on, not the full bit.
Okay. And then that's the end of that, right? Any
Sure.
other questions before we conclude this? Give it a
Thanks
couple
everybody
seconds.
for participating. Hopefully
Thank you for coming
learned
on.
something new.
This was insane. This was really productive. I got some studying to do.
I know this wasn't the format you were expecting, but hopefully it's been acceptable for you.
I'm more than happy with how it turned out. This was
Me too. It's been
it
fun.
beat my expectations. I shouldn't have had any to begin with.
I
Now
know what I'm
learned.
doing. I'm experienced.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I think there's no other questions. I think should be
I guess on this document, just a few more things. Like for recommendations, I would say make sure you're looking up people who are doing interesting things and follow them so that you're getting a full range of stuff. Follow me and Sam because we cover some good stuff.
Let's go.
So that's me.
Got the stamp of approval.
It's a guy who recently came up because I love stats. So in another lifetime, I might have been a data analyst. Another career that probably doesn't lead to too much, but I love working with stats, and so anyone interested in research might go down this track. But he's come up with this really great strat book for CS, and I've run with it. So he's got this template here, and if you know anything about pivot charts, it's just data galore. It's lovely. I'm a pig in mud with stats like this. So I've pinched the idea and come up with some great stats for my CS teams, and
from using his
it's really good fun. Follow some good people, get some great ideas. Be like a little blackbird and pick up all the good ideas from people and put it all together in a little bundle for yourself. And you get some great ideas. But if anyone wants to message me about sports psychology, feel free to do so.
It's funny that you put the tweet of Masami Duck in there because I'm in talks with him right now to actually come on here too to talk about IGLing specifically because he's really good at that stuff. That's cool. That's cool.
I don't know him at all, but I thought this was great.
I thought oh wow, that's crazy. I'm gonna let him know that this came up on stream. That's cool. Everyone's saying thank you. Everyone's saying thank you, Dr. Payne.
My pleasure.
Teammate Eli said Dr. Payne is a cool name. That is actually a really cool name.
That is a good name.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
my dad is a medical doctor. And,
so he's the real Dr. Payne.
I've had all the Dr. Payne jokes all my life because of him.
Yeah.
And I thought, blow it. I'm going to become Dr. Payne too. But he says my Dr. Payne is not the same as his Dr. Payne's.
Yeah.
Nowhere near as good.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, do your best.
Yeah. Sona said, very, very thankful. I set aside time to watch the stream. Very informative and huge thank you to both Sam and Dr. Payne as well. Everyone's saying thank you. My teammate said you're awesome.
Thank you.
Learned a lot from this. Thank you very much for the information and insights. I appreciate you coming on, Dr. Payne. I don't want to hold you any longer. We already going over 25
That's
minutes.
right. That's right.
I really appreciate
That's
this.
right.
This was a great talk.
Now, remember, I'm looking for work in North America.
Yes. Let me hold on. I gotta pull up my document because I had an ending here. So if you want to plug your socials, you have a podcast, I believe, right? It's the Pocket Psych podcast on YouTube.
Yeah, Pocket Psych podcast. That's right.
She's got a podcast. She also has her book. Let me go back and read the title of the book. The ebook Sports Psychology. It says you wrote the ebook Sports Psychology Tools for every coach and athlete.
That's not for sale though. That's just something I work with. No, it's something I work with my teams on. So it's a private book that if you hire me, you get the book.
Okay. Well, we could just flex that you wrote a book though, because that's so cool.
That's right.
She's got her podcast, sorry.
I have an online course in sports psychology, not esports psychology, on Udemy. So Udemy is a online course place, and so you can get a lot of these topics in sports psychology translate directly to esports. So if you're interested in sports psychology, have a look at the Udemy course that I've got on there.
Here, can I find the link? Let me put the link to your Pocket Psych podcast, right? Everyone's asking for the link.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting you to put this document in where your channels are, if you don't mind. I don't actually want it to go out to the whole world, but those people who watch your podcast, is there a way, Sam, for you to put this link for this document to go so that they can click on it and they'll just get the podcast straight from there?
Are you okay with me putting it in the video afterwards? Or do you want it only for the people who are on stream right now?
No, so is there on your socials is there a way for you to put the link to this document?
That's what I was gonna do after I post this, was to put all the links.
But don't plug it. Don't email it out to anybody. Just in a tweet. Just anyone who comes to your podcast can get this link. Yeah, and they'll see all the notes, and they'll get the podcast from that.
Oh, the whole document, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that would make it easier. Let me do that then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me write that down.
And anyone doesn't have to write notes.
Document. So they'll have access to the whole document.
I'm happy to have people look at it if they come to your podcast, but just don't share it everybody widely. This is how I earn my living. But anyone who's watched the podcast, by all means, have a look at the notes.
So that's what I'm trying to clarify: is only people who are here live, or are you okay with me linking that after I post this onto my channel?
Yeah.
For both?
That's fine.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, but just don't tweet it. Don't tweet the document. Okay. Otherwise, I could do that myself, but I won't.
Okay, I'll make sure not to do that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And as I said, I'm looking for work in North America. So
yes,
if there are any teams that want to work with me that can pay me to do it,
EG,
I'm looking to work in. Yeah, all those ones.
Hit her up. I'm trying to think of anyone else. Hopefully they come back soon. CS2, man. They'll hopefully bring back Gen G and all those other guys. Get you some work. Well, I really appreciate this. Thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks, everybody. Thanks. I've had a great time.
Hey, you have a good rest of your day. Good luck with the rest of your clients too.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right.
Good night.
Peace out. Okay. Oh shoot. I'm not even in here. Oh, it's all messed up. Okay, my messed up, y'all. My webcam's messed up. That's the end of the podcast. Okay. My webcam's it's gone. Bro! Oh my god, I'm really struggling. I just switched to a scene where my mic wasn't even working, okay? I switched to a scene where my mic wasn't even working. I said a bunch of things. Okay, that was the end of the podcast. Thank you everyone for coming here. Going forward, yeah, everyone's saying, where do you go? I messed up. Okay, my bad. I talked for so long and it wasn't even coming through because I didn't have a microphone activated. Going forward, this is what I want to do with the podcast. I want to make this a permanent thing where I interview people and it's all about learning stuff. Because it's funny she mentioned Masami Duck at the end because I actually wanted to get him on for an interview for IGLing specific podcast. So I'm in talks with him. Nothing is for sure confirmed, But I think this is like a unique space in terms of podcasting when it comes to CSGO specifically, because all the CSGO podcasts is all about people talking about how well did teams perform. And they're like, oh my God, did you see how G2 did? And did you see how FaZe did? I don't give a shit about FaZe or G2. To be honest, I want to perform, okay? I don't care how they perform. I want to perform. So that's the whole goal of this podcast, is me interviewing people and figuring out how to like perform and just learn, because I think that this is lacking. So thank you all for watching. Hopefully this won't be as messy next time. I'm still learning how to do all this stuff. Same with this whole, my webcam's missing right now, but I'll figure it out, okay? No expectations, as I just learned. All right, I am out, y'all. I appreciate you all for watching this, and more is to come. The VOD will be posted soon with all the links. Peace.